I sold my first kiss for $100 to the guy who hates me. It was a typical Monday morning. I was walking to campus, fist bumping my pals along the way, trying to convince myself that this week would be different. Spoiler, it wasn't. By the time I reached the quad, I was already late for homeroom, and my shoelaces were untied. Again. But hey, at least I was consistent. The school was buzzing about the annual fundraiser, and I had somehow convinced myself that auctioning my first kiss was a brilliant idea. I mean, who in their right mind would bid their first kiss in an auction? Jesse Adams, the guy who trips over his own shoelaces, who was the one who actually set the science lab on fire because I thought mixing sodium in water was a good idea. Spoiler, it wasn't. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and I was desperate. My car, well, my mom's old Honda Civic that she kindly let me borrow, needed new tires, and I was flat broke. So when the school announced the fundraiser, I figured why not? I'd throw my first kiss into the auction as a joke. It's not like anyone would take it seriously. Except someone did. The auction started off exactly how I expected. 50 cents, yelled Jerry, my best friend, holding up a literal coin. I want to say I bid on this for historical reasons. Dude, I groaned. At least make it a whole dollar. I have a reputation to maintain. 75 cents, my other friend Maggie called out, grinning. I'm feeling generous today. The whole thing was a joke and I was loving it. That is until Tiara, arguably one of the more popular girls in school, raised an eyebrow and smirked. $10. I'm curious. Wait, what? Whoa, Jess, you've officially entered double digits, Jerry snickered. I was still processing the fact that someone actually put real money down when a smooth voice cut through the crowd. 100. Silence. A collective gasp. My stomach hit the floor. Because of course, it had to be him. Ashton Williams. The guy next door. My neighbor. The guy who looked like he walked straight out of a cologne ad, all sharp jawlines and annoyingly perfect hair. The guy who changes dates like worn-out clothes. He had dated both men and women, but his longest relationship had been with Ariana, the queen bee. And he had been my rival since freshman year, excelling at everything I sucked at. Sports, academics, and social interactions that didn't involve accidental humiliation. I'm not the type to have a sworn enemy. I'm not an overachiever. I'm not breaking records in the gym. And my grades, let's just say the teachers know me for my personality. But somehow, Ashton and I have been locked in this stupid rivalry for years. Every test, every election, every pointless gym class activity, he has to poke me into a competition where he ends up winning. And me? I make sure he doesn't win too easily. Not that I actually stand a chance. While I'm out here barely keeping my GPA alive, Ashton's probably color-coding his notes and charming teachers into giving him extra credit. Oh, and did I mention he's also my neighbor? And now this Greek god owned my lips. What the hell, Ashton? I blurted before I could stop myself. He smirked. What? Thought no one would bid? Well, he shrugged, completely unbothered. Guess I ruined it. The auction ended before I could figure out what just happened. And as people dispersed, Jerry clapped a hand on my back. Well, buddy, you're now officially priceless. Or at least worth $100. Maggie looked at me, eyes gleaming. So, when's the big moment? I had no idea. And that terrified me. As I walked home that afternoon, I couldn't stop replaying the moment in my head. Ashton had been my rival for as long as I could remember. But this was a whole new level of rivalry. And the worst part, I had no idea what his endgame was. Was he just messing with me? Did he actually want to kiss me? Or was this an elaborate prank to humiliate me in front of the entire school? As I turned the corner onto my street, I saw him. Ashton was standing on his front porch, leaning against the rail like he was posing for a photo shoot. He looked up and smirked when he saw me. "Hey, Jesse," he called out, his voice dripping with amusement. "Looking forward to our little moment." I groaned and quickened my pace, determined to avoid any further conversation. But as I fumbled with my keys and slipped inside my house, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of whatever game Ashton was playing. And the worst part? I had no idea how to win. More importantly, when the hell was he going to cash in? A week in, Ashton still hadn't claimed his prize. It was like living with a ticking time bomb. Every time I saw him in the hallway, he'd give me this infuriating smirk, like he knew exactly how much it was driving me crazy. "Maybe you forgot," Jerry suggested one day as we three sat in the cafeteria, clearly trying to make me feel better. "Ashton Williams doesn't forget anything," I muttered. "He probably has a spreadsheet tracking how much he's making me sweat." Maggie, of course, was no help. "I think it's romantic," she said, sighing dramatically, like he's waiting for the perfect moment. "Romantic?" I spluttered. "This isn't a rom-com, Maggie. This is my life, and it's a disaster." But deep down, I couldn't help but wonder, what if she was right? What if Ashton was waiting for some grand, dramatic moment to swoop in and claim his prize? Or worse, what if he was just messing with me, and he never planned to cash it in at all? Either way, I was screwed. I sighed and tried to eat my sad, soggy sandwich, when Ashton appeared out of nowhere. "Adams," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "I think it's time." I nearly choked on my sandwich. "Time for what?" He raised an eyebrow. "You know what?" Panic set in. "Here? Now? In front of everyone?" Ashton smirked. "Unless you'd rather do it in private." The entire cafeteria erupted into cheers and whistles. My friends literally held their breath, watching with their eyes wide like saucers. Great. Just great. I stood up, my face probably the color of a tomato, and muttered, "Let's just get this over with." Ashton stepped closer, and for a moment, I forgot how to breathe. He was taller than I remembered, and his cologne smelled way too good for someone who was about to ruin my life. And then, nothing. He backed off, his cologne disappearing from my nostrils as I frowned in a daze, my throat dry. What happened? "My mood changed," he said so casually that for a moment I thought I was hearing nonsense, until I saw his lips stretch into an amused smirk. My face flushed as the entire cafeteria went from cheering to laughing. I wanted to scream, but all I did was grab my bag and dash out of the cafeteria, my friends calling from behind as I paced out. Stupid Jesse. A month in. Okay, so Ashton's officially a menace. Like, full on. Certified chaos wrapped in a leather jacket and a smirk that could melt glaciers. After the whole cafeteria fiasco, where he made me think we were about to kiss in front of literally everyone, I swear I wouldn't let him mess with me anymore. But, yeah, that plan lasted about as long as a snowman in July. For example, a week after the cafeteria incident, I missed my bus, because of course I did. And there he was, leaning against his stupidly cool car like some kind of rom-com hero. "Need a ride, Jess?" he said, all casual, like he hadn't just left me hanging in front of half the school. I should have said no. I really should have said no. But, well, it seemed Mother Nature would pour any time, and I didn't want to walk to school like a drenched crow. So, despite not wanting to, I got in. Then, in the school corridors, he'd throw his arm around me like we were best buds or something. "Relax, Jess," he'd say, his voice low and way too close to my ear. "You're wound tighter than a spring." And then he'd just stare at me like he was trying to solve some puzzle only he could see. It was intense, okay? Like, why are you looking at me like that, dude? But then he would say these things that made my brain short-circuit. Like once, he cornered me by the lockers, his hand resting on the wall above my head, and said, "You know, Jesse, if I kissed you right now, I'd ruin you for anyone else." And then he just walked away. Ruin me? What does that even mean? Is he flirting? Is he messing with me? Is this some kind of psychological experiment? I don't know, but my brain's been stuck on that sentence ever since. And don't even get me started on the touching. He'd get all up in my space, his breath hot on my neck, and I'd think, this is it. He's finally gonna kiss me. But nope. Instead, he'd nip at my neck or nibble my earlobe, and I'd be left there, a flustered mess, while he'd smirk like he'd just won the lottery. "Not part of the deal, Ashton," I'd say, trying to sound annoyed, but probably just something breathless. "Deal?" He'd reply, all innocent. "Who said anything about a deal? I'm just being friendly." Friendly? Yeah, okay, sure. Because friends definitely nibble each other's ears. Totally normal. Then there's the whole sneaking into my room thing. Last night, I was just chilling in bed, scrolling through my phone, when my window slid open and he climbed in, like some kind of vampire. "Miss me?" he said, flopping onto my bed like he owned it. "Get out!" I said, throwing a pillow at him. "Make me," he shot back, grinning that stupid grin. We wrestled for a bit, don't ask me how, and somehow, in the middle of it, our lips brushed. Just barely, but it was enough to stun us both. I froze, my heart pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. And then I noticed his heart was racing too, erratic and wild under my fingertips where they'd landed on his chest. His eyes were dark, pupils blown wide, and for a second, he looked as thrown as I felt. He leaned in again, so slowly it felt like time had stopped, and brushed his lips against mine once more. It wasn't a kiss, not really, but it was enough to make my breath hitch and my stomach do a full-on somersault. "We kissed," I whispered, my voice shaky. He rolled me beneath him, his weight pressing me into the mattress, and smirked. "That wasn't a kiss, Jess. When I kiss you, you'll remember it on your lips for the whole day." My heart was going a million miles an hour, and before I could even process what he'd said, he dipped his head and pressed a soft kiss to the crook of my neck. It was warm and lingering, and I swear I felt it in my toes. Then, like nothing had happened, he flopped down beside me, pulled me into his arms, and tucked my head under his chin. "Stop running your brain," he murmured, his voice sleepy. "Go to sleep, Jess." And the craziest part? I did. I fell asleep wrapped up in his arms, his heartbeat steady against my ear. And for the first time in forever, I didn't overthink anything. Now I'm dreaming about him. Actually, dreams where he kisses me, and it's all soft and perfect and everything I didn't know I wanted. When I woke up, I was equal parts annoyed and disappointed that it wasn't real. Ashton had left a sticky note with $50 on the pillow. Half the money, because I got the feel of your lips. "See you in the school, pouty lips." I sighed. Ashton was doing something to my heart. And the scary part, I don't even know if Ashton was serious, or if this was just some elaborate game to him. But I think I was starting to love it. The tension, the teasing, the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the room. It was addictive. And yeah, maybe I'm a little screwed, but honestly, I didn't even care anymore. Ashton was chaos, and somehow, I was okay with that. The next day. Okay, so I wanted to look good today. No big deal, right? Just a casual sky blue t-shirt. Totally not, because Ashton mentioned once that it matched my eyes or whatever. And yeah, maybe I sprayed a little perfume. Just a little, like 2 spritzes. Tops. It's not like I was trying to smell nice for anyone. Definitely not for Ashton. Nope, not at all. I got to school, fist bumping my friends like usual, but my eyes were low-key scanning the halls for Ashton. I mean, he was my highest bidder, and he's yet to cash in the remaining half of the money, so it's normal to look for him, right? Totally normal. But then as I passed the gym lockers, I heard it. "You wasted $100 on Jesse?" Some dude snickered. My stomach dropped. Wait, what? Felt bad for him? Another voice chimed in. My stomach dropped. I didn't need to see Ashton's face to know it was him they were talking to. And the worst part, he didn't deny it. He just laughed. That stupid, charming laugh that usually made me smile. But now, it felt like a punch to my gut. I didn't stick around to hear him. I just bolted, my heart pounding like a drum. By the time the final bell rang, I was a mess. And of course, there was Ashton, laughing his usual charming laugh like nothing was wrong. Like he hadn't just shattered my stupid little heart into a million pieces. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed his arm and yanked him into a secluded corner. He stumbled a little, but that smirk, still intact. "Well, this is new," he said, his voice all smooth and teasing. "You know, you could have just asked if you wanted me alone." He reached out like he was going to touch my face, but I snapped. "Was it just pity?" My voice cracked, and I hated how weak it sounded. But I needed to know. I had to know. His smirk faltered, and for a second he looked genuinely confused. "What are you talking about?" "The kiss," I snapped. "The $100. Was it just some stupid joke to you? Did you feel bad for me?" Ashton's face went serious, his usual playful demeanor vanishing. "Jesse, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it?" I shot back, my voice rising. "Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you were messing with me." His jaw clenched, and for the first time, he looked hurt? "You really think that's why?" "I bought that kiss because I didn't want anyone else to have it." My heart skipped. "Why? Why should I believe you?" I asked. My brows were in a trance of an arc. "Since middle school till now, all you've done is pick on me. Then why? Am I just a joke to you?" He sighed, shaking his head in denial. "No, Jess. I didn't pick on you to make fun of you. I didn't know how to reach out to you." "You did reach out to me," I mumbled, my voice trembling, "but at the wrong time. Now all of them take me as a charity case." "Jess, please. It's not like that, believe me." His voice was desperate, but I couldn't give in. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But how could I? Ashton was, well, Ashton. Charming, unpredictable, and way too good at playing games. A week later. Finals were around the corner, so I decided to keep my distance from Ashton for the sake of my sanity, and also to figure out if Ashton was for real or just messing with me. But Ashton, he was his usual self. In the hallway, he'd throw me a wink as he walked by. "Looking good, Jess." At lunch, he'd swipe a bite of my sandwich like he owned it. Turkey and cheese. Classic. Maggie and Jerry were literally shipping us, and it made me more annoyed. He even showed up at the coffee shop where I worked, leaning on the counter with that stupid grin. "Didn't know you made lattes. Can I get one with extra, Jesse?" I rolled my eyes, but couldn't stop the smile tugging at my lips. Still, I wasn't letting him off that easy. I started locking my bedroom window at night, just in case he decided to pull one of his sneaky visits. The next day, he complained. Why is your window locked, Jess? You don't trust me? Maybe I just don't want raccoons breaking in, I said, shrugging. He raised an eyebrow. Raccoons, huh? Sure it's not just me you're trying to keep out? Wouldn't you like to know? I shot back, grinning despite myself. 3 weeks later. Man, today was the day. Final exams were done, and I was ready to party like there was no tomorrow. Maggie, Jerry, and I were bouncing ideas off each other about how we'd celebrate. Pizza, video games, maybe even a bonfire if we could convince Jerry's dad to let us use his backyard. Life was good. I had kept it cordial with Ashton. Now I don't anticipate the day he'll kiss me. And Ashton, he behaves like we're dating. I always have to remind him that what we have is because of that stupid fundraiser. But boy, who was I kidding? I liked the way he acted around me. Well, until Ariana Grant decided to ruin it. She cornered me near the lockers, her minions flanking her like some kind of high school royal guard. Ariana had that smug look on her face, the one that screamed, "I'm about to ruin your day." Great. Well, if it isn't Jessie, she said, flipping her hair like she was in a shampoo commercial. Still pretending you're worth Ashton's time? I rolled my eyes. Oh, hey, Ariana. Didn't see you there. Too busy not caring. She smirked, clearly enjoying herself. Cute. But let's be real, Jessie. Ashton's mine. Always has been, and always will be. So do yourself a favor and back off. I snorted. Does Ashton know he's yours? Or is that just your delusion talking? Her eyes narrowed, and for a second I thought she might actually combust. But then she pulled out her phone, and my stomach dropped. There it was, a picture of her and Ashton. His back was turned, but she was staring right at the camera with this look. It was all too easy to imagine what was happening. Still think I'm lying? She purred, waving the phone in my face. I didn't stick around to hear more. I just bolted. Out of the school, down the street, anywhere but there. My chest felt tight, and my head was spinning. Ashton and Ariana? No way. Weren't they over long ago? But that picture... I didn't get far before I heard Ashton calling my name. Jessie, wait up! I didn't stop. Couldn't. Maggie and Jerry caught up to him, though, and I heard them laying into him. We were rooting for you, man, Jerry said, his voice sharp. Maggie chimed in. Her tone was icy. Stay away from Jessie, or else. I didn't look back. I just kept walking, my mind racing. Ashton blew up my phone with calls, but I ignored every single one. I didn't want to hear his excuses. Not now, not ever. That night, I was in my room trying to distract myself with some music when I heard my bedroom door open. I froze. No way. But sure enough, there he was. Ashton, walking inside like some kind of rom-com cliché. What the hell are you doing here? Who let you in? I snapped, before yelling, Mom, what's he doing here? Your mom is at my place, with my mother. I asked her permission before coming here, Ashton said calmly, but I was ready to bolt for the door. Jess, we need to talk, he said, his voice urgent as he blocked my way and locked the door. Ariana's lying. Oh, save it, I interrupted, my anger bubbling over. I saw the picture, Ashton. You and her. So what? Was I just some kind of game to you? $100 well spent? His eyes widened. What? No, Jessie, listen to me. Ariana showed up at my house with her friends 3 days ago. I didn't even know they were coming. She said she needed my notes, and then she excused herself to my room when I went to shower. When I came out, she pretended to trip and I caught her. That's when her friends took the picture. I swear, I kicked them out as soon as I understood her plan. And I wanted to tell you, but we've all been busy with the finals. Jessie, please. She's manipulating you. I shook my head, not buying it. Convenient story. But I'm not stupid, Ashton. I saw the way you both were close. You expect me to believe it was all some big misunderstanding? He ran a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated. Jesse, I'm not playing with you. Ariana and I had things in the past, but that's it. After you, it's only been you. I swear, baby. I gulped, my eyes widening slightly. What do you mean? He chuckled, almost in disbelief, and stepped closer. Are my actions so vague that you can't read between the lines? I want you, Jess. I always have. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But that picture, it was burned into my brain. I don't know, Ashton. Maybe it's better if you just take a step back. The whole kiss deal thing, it's not worth it. He looked like I'd punched him. Jesse, don't do this. Please. But I couldn't shake the doubt. I needed space. Time to think. And if that meant putting distance between us, then so be it, even if it killed me a little inside. 2 weeks in. After that night, I tried to pull away. I really did. But Ashton, he didn't get the memo. Or maybe he just didn't care. He kept reaching out, like a ghost I couldn't shake. Texts at 2 a.m., showing up at my job, lingering in the hallway at school, like he was waiting for me to slip up and talk to him. I didn't. I couldn't. Not after everything. But God, it was hard. Every time I saw him, my chest tightened. His eyes followed me like I was the only person in the room. It pissed me off. Jesse. His voice cut through the school hallway like a hot blade. I stiffened but didn't turn around. I wouldn't turn around. Jesse, wait, he said again, closer this time. I could feel his presence behind me, his warmth and the faint scent of his cologne. My heart raced. I hated how my body reacted to him. What, Ashton? I finally snapped, spinning around. He was right there, inches from me, his hands in his pockets, his head tilted slightly like he was studying me. You've been avoiding me, he said, his voice low, almost a growl. Yeah, well, maybe there's a reason for that, I shot back, my voice sharper than I intended. He stepped closer and I stepped back, hitting the wall behind me. He didn't stop. Instead, he leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. You can't avoid me forever, Jess. I shoved him away, my hands trembling. Watch me. At my job, I was by the cashier counter when I felt it. That familiar warmth on the back of my neck. I turned and there he was, leaning against the counter, his arms crossed, that damn smirk on his face. What are you doing here? I hissed, glancing around to make sure my boss wasn't watching me. I missed you, he said like it was the simplest thing in the world. You're insane, I muttered, turning my focus back to the cashier counter. Maybe, he said, stepping closer. But you like it. I spun around, my face hot. I don't like anything about you, Ashton. He raised an eyebrow, that smirk never leaving his face. Liar. At home, I was in my room, trying to focus on the music I was listening to, when my phone buzzed again. It was 2 a.m., and I knew who it was before I even looked. Ashton, you're still up. I stared at the screen, my chest tight. I shouldn't respond. I knew I shouldn't respond, but my fingers moved before I could stop them. Me. What do you want, Ashton? Ashton. You. I almost threw my phone across the room, my heart pounding. She was relentless. And the worst part? Some part of me loved it. A week later. The prom was in 3 days, and I still hadn't got a date for myself. Maggie was going with Jerry, and I'd yet to decide my date. It wasn't like I didn't get asked, but for some reason, I kept turning them down. I got out of my home to get some fresh air when I saw them. Ashton and Ariana. She was crying, her face red, her hands clenched into fists. Ashton was standing there, his arms crossed, his face hard. I frowned, my stomach twisting as Ariana stomped away. What the hell was going on? Then Ashton's eyes met mine, and his expression softened. "Jesse," he started, but I didn't stick around to hear the rest. I was about to close the door, but Ashton showed up right behind me. "I turned down Ariana's offer of being her date to the prom." My heart did a weird flip, but I kept being nonchalant. "So? Be my date," he said like it was the simplest thing in the world. I wanted to say yes, but then the overthinking part of me ran my mouth into spurting no. He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving mine. "Why not?" "Because," I said, my voice shaking. I'm going with someone else." His jaw tightened, and for a moment, I thought he was going to say something, do something, but he just nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. "Fine." I watched him walk away, my chest tight. I saw my friends on the porch, their gazes trained on me in disappointment. I shouldn't have cared, but I did. I shook my head and went inside, with my two friends trailing behind. "Jess," Maggie called out softly. I was conflicted as I popped down on the couch and rubbed my face. I am hurting him, ain't I? "No, sweetie. You're just overthinking everything." Maggie sat beside me, hooking her arms around my neck. "And that's not a good thing, bro. Yes, Ashton has been a player, but after that Ariana bitch fiasco, he'd really tried to get you to listen to him. He's not playing you." I looked at her in defeat, while Jerry sat on the left side of me. "Jess, initially even we didn't believe Ashton. Heck, we even threatened him to try coming closer to you. But that dude has it bad for you. And I'm speaking from my experience." "Wait, what?" I was surprised as I looked between two of my friends before chuckling. "No way, you guys? Are you two? Oh God, you chipmunks!" Jerry chuckled, the dude grinning like a lovesick puppy, staring at Maggie, who was blushing. "Realized it in a tough way, man. Fear of losing made me realize what she means to me." "What did she do?" I asked, looking at Maggie, who started tucking her curly strands behind her ears. "I might have lied about going to the prom party with someone else," she said sheepishly, while I couldn't help chuckling, until she smiled softly at me. "Jess, cutie, don't push Ashton away. That guy is really into you." "Don't think we're pushing you. We're just saying..." Jerry hesitated, then smiled softly. "Maybe you should think about how you really feel before it's too late." Their words settled in, leaving me in quiet turmoil. Because the thought of Ashton giving up, of walking away for good, I wasn't sure I could handle that. 3 days later, I went to prom with some guy. I didn't bother mingling much. I really thought of going to Ashton, to tell him I wanted to go to the prom with him, but after that evening, I couldn't see him around. I almost canceled coming, but my friends emotionally blackmailed me into coming. And here I am now, physically present, but emotionally lost in someone who is not here. I just replied politely when my date said or asked something. The bass pulsed through my veins, the rhythm of the music thrumming in my chest as I moved with my date. I plastered on a smile, pretending I was having the time of my life. The people around us laughed, swayed, and shouted over the music, got up in the party's energy. Jerry and Maggie were lost in each other. The idiots were so into each other. I smiled softly watching them, but my attention wasn't really on any of them. My gaze kept drifting toward the entrance. I told myself I wasn't looking for him. I wasn't. I had no reason to. And yet, the moment he walked in, it felt like the air had been knocked from my lungs. He didn't have a date with him, yet guys and girls surrounded him like he was some movie star. Ashton stood there, his dark eyes locking onto mine like a magnetic pull I couldn't escape. The room blurred, the noise dulled, and all I could see was him. A flicker of pain crossed his face. Something raw, something I had never seen before, when my date pulled me closer to him by my waist. My chest tightened. He looked hurt, really hurt, and for a moment all I wanted was to go to him, to reach out and tell him it was okay, that I was sorry. But before I could do anything, he turned and disappeared into the crowd. I stood there, breathless, my heart pounding. "Jesse?" My date's voice barely registered. "You okay?" I forced a smile, nodding absently. "Yeah, just need some air." And I excused myself from him with an apologetic face. I asked people around about Ashton, and finally found him leaning against the rooftop railing, his back to me, staring out at the glittering skyline. The cold night air bit at my skin, but the real chill was the tension between us. I took a step closer. "Why are you here?" My voice barely carried over the wind. He didn't turn. "I couldn't stay." His voice was rough, laced with something unspoken. "I couldn't watch you with someone else." My breath hitched. "Ashton, don't." He cut me off, finally turning to face me. His expression was unreadable, his dark eyes filled with something that made my knees weak. "I've been denying it for years, Jesse. I didn't want to like you. I dated other people and tried to convince myself it was just a crush. But then you bid your first kiss and I lost it. I couldn't stop myself. I don't want anyone having your first kiss." I sucked in a breath, my heart slamming against my ribs. "Then why didn't you ever kiss me?" My voice cracked. "Why did you fool around me?" He stepped closer, eyes never leaving mine. "Because I didn't want a kiss without feelings." His voice was low, almost desperate. "I wanted it to happen naturally. I wanted you to want it, Jesse. Not because I won it." My pulse roared in my ears. The city lights a soft glow on his face, highlighting the sharp angles of his jaw, the slight tremors in his lips. I swallowed hard, stepping closer until there was barely any space between us. "I do want it. I've always wanted it." His expression softened, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing against my cheek. As he rested his forehead against mine, his breath mingling with mine in the cool night air. "God, I want to kiss you so bad, Jesse." "Tell me you want me to kiss you," he murmured, voice thick with emotion. "Please, Jess. I'm dying to kiss you." I felt my heart lift with joy, my entire body thrumming with anticipation. I barely managed a nod before his lips crashed against mine. And oh boy, fireworks burst behind my eyelids. But I didn't need them. I already felt them. In every touch, every breath, every beat of his heart against mine. It wasn't a kiss of need. It was everything. Years of unspoken tension, stolen glances, denied feelings, all unraveling in the span of one desperate, breathtaking moment. He dipped me slightly, deepening the kiss, his grip firm yet gentle, like he was afraid to let go. I exhaled slowly, my heart pounding so hard when he pulled me back, I swore I heard it. A smirk tugged at my lips. "You really were ready to spend $100 just to kiss me?" His low chuckle sent a thrill down my spine. "No, Jesse. I spent $100 because I wanted you to see me. I laughed softly, my chest aching in the best way. Oh, my lover boy. I see you. His eyes softened as he stepped closer, his lips brushing against mine as he whispered, "Say it again." I smiled, breathless. I see you, Ashton. I always have. And then I kissed him again, my heart full, my soul finally at peace. Conclusion. A year later, I watched Ashton struggle with an IKEA shelf in our shared apartment. "You're doing it wrong," I teased. Ashton huffed. "Your first kiss cost me $100. If not anything, you owe me emotional support." I chuckled, kissing his jaw. "Fine, but next time, just ask me out like a normal person." Ashton smirked, pulling me in. Where's the fun in that? And this time, I kissed him back without hesitation. The end. Question: what's your favorite moment in Jesse and Ashton's journey? Do you think their love story would have been as powerful if Ashton had confessed earlier? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force. And stay wholesome.